So it's a pleasure to have the senator come here again today. So you look around this facility, it wouldn't exist without what the senator did back in 2017. I got to tell you, he's done a lot more. Last week I was at an event where they talked about the CHIPS Act. I was on the phone with Doreen Harris this morning talking about the infrastructure bill and hydrogen hubs, and it'll help grow this economy. And you can't stop but talking about the senator's work in the IRA. You know, when I look at it, hydrogen is going to be 20% of the world's energy, and the senator's really making sure New York leads in that effort. So, Senator, when you were here the last time, I said we were going to create 380 jobs over about a 5-year period. So today, and you told me, why can't you create 400? And I'm making a mistake now because this activity started with about 4 employees 5 years ago, and today it's 414. And without the senator, that wouldn't have been possible. So, you know, I can't really say anything too, you know, I could go on and on about the great work he's done for renewable energy, for the national security of the country, because energy has a lot to do with national security as well as climate change. But instead of me telling you about it, rather let the senator tell you all about the great work he's done. So thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you. Oh, that's great. Oh, no, it's white.
It's white, and it's actually a coffee stain there.
I do that all the time. And my wife says, close your jacket, Andy.
I did, but I'm a little too heavy for that.
All right, it's great to be here, and I want to thank Andy for the great work that he does. He's very modest. He really turned this company around. I've been involved with Plug Power long before Andy Marsh was in 2003. Yes. When did it? Yes. And they started out and were having trouble then, and I saved them once. And then Andy came in and had this brilliant idea to do fuel cells, which he knew was going to be growing. And yet, without the tax credit that I was able to push through the Congress as minority leader in 2017, the firm never would have gotten anywhere. And so I was happy to sort of save the company twice, and now it's one of New York's proudest companies. It employs, what, over 2,000 people?
2,000 in New York.
In New York alone, in Albany and here in Rochester. When they were deciding whether to build their factory here in Rochester or in some other state, I won't say what, I told Andy, New York will go all out. You have the best workforce there, and here we are with 414 jobs. Maybe I'll come back next week, it'll be 416, who knows? So it's great to be here. And I'm here to talk about, and Plug Power is at the center of this, but the huge opportunity that New York has and Rochester has to become the center of America's first ever billion-dollar clean hydrogen hub. With Rochester's powerhouse workforce and Plug's large 414 job facility here as the heart pumping out clean, green hydrogen that will power the next phase in our fight against climate change. Everyone loves green hydrogen. It's cheap, it throws off water, it doesn't create any carbon into the atmosphere, and one advantage we have here in New York is to make green hydrogen, you need clean power to power the factories that make the hydrogen, and we have plenty of good cheap water and cheap power, and that helps make New York a leader. So what I did, knowing that Plug Power was coming here, and knowing how important hydrogen is going to be to the future of green energy, I created a multi-billion-dollar competition in the bipartisan infrastructure law to spur regions and companies to come together to see who could lead in the next leap in clean hydrogen, and to prove how, if they got billions in investments from the Fed, they could create thousands of jobs and help us reach the next frontier in clean hydrogen energy. What it does is it turns water into clean fuel. That's why it's not waste. It's not carbon. It's water, which is, even if you remember from your chemistry class in high school, hydrogen and oxygen, H2O. Not a C in sight. That's carbon. Okay. So I'm here today to reveal how our application has brought together 7 northeastern states, with New York leading and Rochester leading. And Rochester is the pillar, with Plug here, also with RIT here, at the very center as we enter the final phases to land the Northeast Regional Green Hydrogen Hub with $1.25 billion in funding. That's a lot of money. We're always looking for new industries that are going to grow, and green hydrogen has one of the greatest potentials for growth. And my goal and dream is to make Rochester and New York the center of green hydrogen. By the way, Plug has the only manufacturing plant for green hydrogen in the country over in Batavia at the Stamp Industrial Park. What does that employ, about 80 people? It will employ about 80 people, and that also helps us. So we are well positioned between Plug Power and the other hydrogen investments, and between RIT, which does such a great job at turning out top-class engineers who can work on these things. We have the lead. And I've gotten leaders and delegations from across New York, from across the Northeast to back New York's lead, because they'll benefit too. So today I'm sending a letter to Secretary of Energy, Granholm, Jennifer Granholm, to make it clear that New York and the Northeast have all the right ingredients to be the nation's first ever regional clean hydrogen hub. And let me say something else. When you have the majority leader from New York, it makes a bit of a difference. I helped pass the bill that got $8 billion total in hydrogen research funded. So when we asked for $1.25 billion of it for the Northeast, I'm very, very optimistic that we can get that grant. It's not a done deal, and obviously has to be done on the merits, but we have the merits with Plug, RIT, and everybody else. And so all we need is to make sure politics doesn't interfere, and I can do that pretty good. Okay, so let me break down what landing this hydrogen hub would mean and how the Rochester Finger Lakes area would benefit. Start by looking around us at this facility. It's the home to Plug's 425 job gigafactory. A gigafactory means it makes a million what? A million
million of these, but actually we think it's capable of 7.5.
7.5 million, but gig is a million, okay?
No, 1 times 10 to the 9, I'm an engineer.
Great, yes, he is. Okay, it makes electrolyzers, and there it is. What this thing does is convert water into hydrogen to make hydrogen fuel. And this factory makes fuel cell stacks that use the clean hydrogen fuel to make electricity, to power everything from forklifts to buses to heating and cooling systems. And right here in the Finger Lakes, New Plug is building North America's largest green hydrogen fuel facility at Stamp. I mentioned that a minute ago. They have the contract, Plug, to make the forklifts that use green fuel cells with both Amazon and Walmart. So they got a lot of places to sell. 2 of the biggest companies in America that would sell the forklifts that use these materials. The $1.25 billion in federal investment I'm pushing would take all of this work in Rochester to the next level, making more of it. This is in great demand, so we want to make more and more and more of them. And it would create thousands of new good-paying jobs. And as we said, Rochester is perfectly suited for this kind of investment. With globally recognized groundbreaking research and great educational institutions, such as RIT and New York Best, Rochester has the best scientists actually in the world. And with a boost from the feds, we could create even more jobs to fuel hydrogen production, which is one of our real futures. When I led the BIF bill, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Bill, I included $9.5 billion to expand the hydrogen industry. $8 billion of that went to the Department of Energy to establish 6 regional clean hydrogen hubs. And when I created this, guess who I had in mind? Them and Rochester, because we knew we had the lead. That was the good thing about this. Our Northeast Hub will work with over 100 public and private partners to undertake more than a dozen projects in the Northeast Hub and build new green hydrogen fuel production facilities, build new infrastructure to transport and deliver hydrogen fuel to customers, help utility customers, companies, industrial plants, consumers use clean hydrogen. That means more electrolyzers, this, and more fuel cell stacks like this, made here, and more green hydrogen fuel like it's being made in Batavia using these. But other people use them too. Green hydrogen fuel could be made, listen to this scenario, very nice. Green hydrogen fuel would be made at a New York plant, then transported on a hydrogen-powered truck made in Massachusetts, to an Amazon or Walmart distribution center in Connecticut that will use it to power everything from the forklifts to providing heating and electricity for their building. Or a hub could make it possible for clean hydrogen instead of fossil fuels to power city buses in Boston and New York, or to power electric vehicle charging stations in remote areas of upstate New York or Maine. Or hydrogen powered generators built in Albany by Plug could be used to provide the needed backup electrical power for Northeast utility companies during peak demand when they were to avoid brownouts. Every one of these investments would create a whole lot of new jobs, And so, as I mentioned, I created this law with upstate, Rochester, and Plug Power in mind, knowing that with the right federal investment, we could make the Finger Lakes the clean hydrogen hub for the world and create thousands of good jobs. It's been a long-time goal of mine. Last year, I wrote to Secretary Granholm and talked to her to urge DOE to make New York State home to the first regional clean hydrogen hub. Soon after, I got DOE, Department of Energy, to advance the Northeast proposal. So now it's on the short list of applications, which gives us a good chance. Okay? And it's no surprise it isn't just Rochester, New York, that makes us suited to lead the hub. Some of our utilities downstate, like Con Ed and LIPA, are very interested in green hydrogen energy, and along with partners like Nucor Steel, which has a plant in Auburn and a plant down in Chemung County, Elmira, they're interested as well, and so is a plant like Cummins Engines, which employs thousands of people out in western New York and Jamestown area, as well as Plug's Vista Fuel Cell here in Albany. So this is a great opportunity. This is exciting. And these are the kind of jobs that when you get one, you know it's going to stay for a long period of time. So let's come together and make this happen. And now I want to call on Ryan Raffelli. He's Vice President of Research at RIT and on the board of New York BEST. BEST stands for Battery and Energy Storage Technology. Ryan, you're on.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
So yeah, I get to do double duty today, representing both RIT and New York BEST. And, you know, on behalf of RIT, you know, I can't overstate how happy we were when Plug decided to move into our backyard. And New York BEST, which a lot of people don't really remember, hydrogen was a huge part of the vision for New York BEST. And, you know, the hydrogen economy is going to come. We are going to get there, and this is a big, big step forward. So on behalf of RIT and President David C. Munson Jr., I want to thank Senator Schumer for leading this effort. RIT faculty, students, and staff will assist this New York State-led Northeast Hub that will develop comprehensive solutions that can help address the technical, economic, and social aspects of hydrogen power. This proposal is an important step towards accelerating the transition to a cleaner, more sustainable energy system, reducing carbon emissions, improving air quality, and preserving our planet for future generations of RIT graduates. On behalf of New York BEST and their president, Bill Acker, I'd like to let you know how pleased we are and how we appreciate Senator Schumer's support for the Northeast Regional Clean Hydrogen Hub proposal. New York BEST members working on clean hydrogen are developing solutions to decarbonize electrical generation, transportation, and the industrial sector, while also building an industry that will be a significant economic engine for our state and region. With DOE support, the Northeast Clean Hydrogen Hub will fund important new clean hydrogen project development, production, and manufacturing, and create thousands of new jobs here in New York and across northeastern United States. So, on behalf of RIT and New York BEST, thank you, Plug Power, and thank you, Senator Schumer.
Thank you, Ryan. And Andy, Ryan, or myself will take questions on this subject. Questions?
Sure. As well from your state, just in terms of any, I guess, result, like where the public might be able to see any benefit, you mentioned this will also be available just, you know, eventually in the future, you know, for an option for energy too. You know, this is kind of setting the seed now, but you know, how soon,
well, if we get the grant, I mean, the grant is in process now. That's why I'm writing Secretary Granholm. We should know the results by the early fall and start seeing the money very shortly thereafter. And not only will we see the federal money here, but once we win this grant, God willing, it's going to attract new companies here, as well as help Plug Power grow and hire more people. So it's a lot of wins for us. Any other questions?
Sandy, yeah, I was just going to say, did the ability to hire those ready to do the work here, did that help in you folks being here? And
Rochester has a great labor force. It always has. And even the old-time companies instilled a very good work tradition, you know, the Kodaks of the world and the Xeroxes of the world. And so one of the selling points that I made to Andy when he was thinking of either Rochester or some other state was that our workforce is the best, having our IT here is great, and having the majority leader ain't too shabby either.
Senator, obviously there's been a lot of talk about New York's power grid and the demand growing, you know, especially moving downstate. They're talking about having to, you know, keep some of the old fossil fuel plants going. Will this kind of technology, you think, will this have a big impact on lessening the impact?
Absolutely. The more green hydrogen we have, the less, you know, carbon fuels we need. And this is a great opportunity because what is its fuel? Water. There's plenty of that. What you need is the technology to turn the water into green hydrogen energy, and that's what these machines do. So there's going to be great demand. There is already.
Already great demand.
There's great demand from all kinds of different companies. And they're going to be replacing what they now their fossil fuel stuff with this.
Senator Haley from News 10. Just to double check, is the tentative plan for all 1.25 billion to go just to Rochester,
No.
to hydrogen energy?
1.25 billion would go to the Northeast Consortium, but Rochester would get probably more than any other place.
Do you know any kind of?
Once we get the grant, we'll decide how to divide it up, and you can be sure the three of us are going to make sure Rochester's way up there.
Thank you.
And in regards to the contracts that have already kind of been laid out, you mentioned Amazon and Walmart, is that set or is that just?
Yeah, no, that's their customers right now.
We've
Go ahead.
shipped over 60,000 fuel cells to Amazon and Walmart, and others already, 200 hydrogen fueling stations. And Plug is the largest user of hydrogen, liquid hydrogen today in the world. So it is, and it continues to grow into other applications, including on-road vehicles, large-scale stationary products that the Senator mentioned. So lots and lots of opportunities.
They also will go to companies with a big truck that has these things in it to give them green hydrogen.
Yeah.
And they're starting to own the trucks, right?
You were starting to own the truck.
Yeah.
We have lots of things, more than too many to count.
But they've been growing, and their stock is a high flyer in the stock market because the investors see this as great future.
I would add, Senator, you mentioned about the money on the post. The amount of money that'll come from Wall Street will actually be added on, which will make it even more attractive.
You bet. It's true. Any other questions on this? We'll do one or two off topics quickly. Okay.
Just briefly, there's been some controversy you may have heard over Senecas wanting a new casino. A lot of local officials, including Congressman Morelli and state assemblymen and senators, say they weren't kept in the loop. What do you think about having a casino?
Yeah, this is basically a state issue, and my watchword on all of these is consult the community and listen to them. Don't shove anything down people's throats.
And it being, just doubling back.
Go ahead.
You know, it being a state issue, you know, what's, I guess your response, I'm not sure if you saw the, statement from Second District President, but just in terms of calling it a political, issue and the NDA concerns and just,
My view is community involvement should matter, and community involvement should carry the day. If the community wants something, good. If they don't, it shouldn't be shoved down their throat. Okay, thank you, everybody. Have a nice summer's day. I always said upstate New York has the best summers in America, and today's a great example.